All right, so in 8.4, we're going to factor trinomials, and we're going to do it the same way that we grouped the four-termed equations in the previous video. So the first thing we have to do is make these trinomials into four terms. What we're going to do is take that middle term and break it up into two terms and give us our four terms. So let me show you what to do. First thing you want to do is multiply the coefficient here and this number here. So you're looking for numbers that multiply to that. So 1 times 15 is 15. And then you want numbers that add to whatever your middle term is. So this is a positive 8, so it's a positive 8 here. So I need to think about the factors of 15 that multiply to 15 but add to 8. So I can go through the whole deal. 3, 5, 5, 3, whatever. But once I get a combination that multiplies 15 and adds to 8, then I'm good, right? These are really the same. So 3 and 5. So now what I'm going to do is rewrite that. I'm going to rewrite that 8x as plus 3x plus 5x. See how I busted that up? Plus 15. Now we're going to group just like we did before, right here and right here. So now I'm going to have GCF x times x plus 3, bring that plus sign straight down. GCF between the back two terms is 5, so I'll have x plus 3. And notice what they have in common, the x plus 3. So x plus 3, and then what's left overs is x plus 5. And now I've factored my trinomial. Let's try the next one. Same idea. I'm going to multiply on this one to be 2 times negative 4 is negative 8, but I need to add on this one to that middle term of negative 7. So this is different. So I think about, okay, what numbers multiply to negative 8? 1 and 8, 2 and 4, on and on and on. But it has to be negative, and I need it to add up. So if it's negative, that means they're different signs. One's positive, one's negative. And I need a combination that actually adds to a negative 7. So if I make that 8 negative and the 1 positive, that should give me, when I add them, I get negative 7. So this is my combination that works. So I'm going to bust up that negative 7 and rewrite it. So now I'm going to have 2x squared plus 1x minus 8x minus 4. So I split that up using those factors right here. Now I'm going to do GCF between these first two terms. So I have x times 2x plus 1. Bring the negative down. What's my GCF here? Well, it looks like 2, right? If I take out, no, it's a 4. I lied. It's 4. Take out a 4. So I take out a 4. Now, be careful. I'm dividing out a negative 4. So negative 8 divided by negative 4 is a positive 2. Negative divided by negative makes it positive. 4 divided by 4 is a 1. So now my GCF is 2x plus 1. The leftovers are the x minus 4. And it's done. Let's try this third one. What two numbers multiply, in this case, 4 times negative 15 is negative 60. And they add to a 4. Okay, so if I get big numbers like this, sometimes it's easy just to divide by 10 and see what happens. Sometimes you have to mess around more than others. But in this case, 10 times 6, that combination could get me to a 4. I do know it's negative, so one of them has to be negative, one has to be positive. How do I know which one? Well, I want the bigger number to be positive because that middle term is positive. So it's going to be negative 6. So I'm going to bust up that 4. Boom, boom. And so I'll have 4x squared, and I'm going to have plus 10 minus 6x minus 15. So now I do GCF here. That's going to give me, it's going to give me a 2, oh, I need an x with that 10, I'm sorry. So it'll be 2x that I take out. So I'll have 2x plus 5, bring down the negative. And what's the GCF between 6 and 15? Well, that would be a 3. And then I'll have, dividing out a negative 3 will give me a positive 2x plus 5. All right, notice these are GCFs, they match, so we're good. Don't force it, just make sure it's happening. It should happen. So if it's not happening, check your signs. Usually it's a negative or a positive that's going wonky. So then what's left over is 2x minus 3, and then it is factored. All right, let's try one more before we get to some stranger ones. Number 4, two numbers that multiply to 1, okay, that's a weird one, but multiply to 1, but add to a negative 2. Well, there's only one thing that multiplies to 1. It has to be 1 and 1, right? But they have to add to negative 2. So if you multiply to something that's positive, it means the two signs matched. But the only way to add them to negative was if they were both negative. So this is my combo that I want. So we are going to go back over here and bust up that negative 2 and say x squared minus 1x minus 1x. You don't have to write the 1, but you can. Group them. So I will have x, what do I have in common? I have an x that I need, and that'll be x minus 1. Here, I only have a 1 in common, so I'm going to factor out, I'm going to bring that negative down, so I'm going to take the 1 out, and so that'll give me x, negative x divided by negative 1 is positive x, 1 divided by negative 1 is negative 1. So now I have negative 1, or x minus 1, times x minus 1. Now, hopefully you notice these are the same factor, right? So I can rewrite it as x minus 1 squared. So this is what you want to do. This is the preferred way to write this, okay? It's the more advanced way to say it. So make a mental note of that. Now let's try some more questions that are a little trickier. All right, let's look at number 5. We're going to start with the same way. We're going to multiply those two numbers together. So 2 times negative 15 is going to give me negative 30. So this is the number I'm multiplying for, and the number I'm adding to get is a negative 7. So let's brainstorm factors of 30. So first thing that comes to mind is 5 and 6. And what? 2 and 15, 3 and 10. And I'm looking at my combinations, trying to get a 7 out of those combinations. Well, 3 and 10 can get me to 7 if I subtract them, right? But I need to have the product of the two numbers be negative, which means these need to be different signs. So the question then becomes, well, which one is negative, the bigger number or the smaller? Well, when I subtract, I need it to come out negative, so I want the bigger number to be negative. So this will be negative 10. Negative 10 would work. Plus 3 gives me negative 7. All is good. So now we're going to break this up. So I'm going to have 2x squared plus 3x minus 10x minus 15. All right, let's pair them up. So my GCF of the first two terms is going to just be at x. So I'll have 2x plus 3. Bring down the minus sign. My GCF back here is a 5. So I'm dividing up a negative 5. So negative 10 divided by negative 5 is a 2x. Negative 15 divided by negative 5 is a plus 3. So there's my greatest common factor of 2x plus 3. What's left over is x minus 5. All right, that wasn't too bad. Now, look at number 6. We could jump right into this, but I want you to remember what I told you before about always check for a GCF, right? Always check for GCF. So, because that can make your life easier, so much easier. GCF first. Is there something that all three terms can get factored out? Well, hopefully you notice the 3 is divisible. Each of these terms is divisible by 3. So if I take out a 3, I'll have x squared plus 7x plus 12. Now I want to try to factor this inside by doing the same method we did before. So in this case, we're going to multiply to 12, and I'm going to add to 7. So hopefully what comes to mind is that they're at 3 and 4. Everything looks positive, so everything looks good there. Now I'm just going to bring that 3 straight down, and I'm going to break up that 7. So x squared plus 3x plus 4x plus 12. Now I can group these two, bring that 3 down. So I'll have x, taking the x out of the first two terms gives me x plus 3, plus, take these two, 4x plus 3. So now I have 3 times, here's my GCF, x plus 3, and what's left over is the x plus 4. So don't forget to bring that GCF down all the way through the equation. Now, lastly, let's look at number 7. Now, number 7 is different. Hopefully it catches your attention. That lead negative, that's a booger. We want to get rid of that thing first. So pull out the lead negative first. Okay, do that first. Very first thing I want to do. So I'm going to factor out a -1, and that's essentially going to change all the signs in the equation. Now I'm ready to focus on the trinomial in here. Now the -1 hangs on for the ride, so don't forget it. So now I'm back to where I was. What numbers are going to multiply to a -35 but add to a +2? Well, 7 and 5 come to mind. But if they're negative, the product's negative, one of them has to be negative. But I want, when I add them, to become it to be positives. That means the smaller number needs to be negative. So the 5 is the negative. So let's break this up. So I'm going to have x squared plus 7x minus 5x minus 35. Now we're going to pair them up. So I'll have x, if I factor out the x, I'll have x plus 7. Bring the negative straight down. What do these two have in common? A 5. So if I factor out a -5, I will have x. -35 divided by -5 is +7. Bring that -1 down, don't forget it. So now, -1 times x plus 7, and then what's left over here is x minus 5. There it is. It's factored out. So these last few, I kind of gave you a couple different ones to mess with, noticing you can still just take a GCF out first, and you might need to pull out a lead negative. So just keep those things in mind as you are working your questions, and let me know what help you need.